what's changed with Amol is that he's put a lot more agency on the players to sort of figure out their own destinies within the side, whether it's what they do in training or what they come out and do on the field. And for years, they've been convincing us, saying, you guys don't know, Shafali is this little pocket dynamite. You never know. On her day, she'll just leave the entire place incinerated and you won't know what's happened.
Do you think this victory gives players the leverage to demand that change? Not just more money, but, just a transformation of attitude and respect.
If anything, this is your stamp of approval that yes, India has rightfully earned its place as the leader in the women's game.
So here's how it went. A month ago, India's women's cricket team looked uncertain. They beat Sri Lanka and Pakistan, but then came those bruising losses to South Africa, Australia, and England. And hanging over all of it were the ghosts of 2005 and 2017, two World Cup finals where India got heartbreak instead of glory. For players like Harmanpreet Kaur and Smriti Mandhana, who spent years chasing that one missing trophy, those memories weren't easy to shake. But something changed. The fielding got sharper, the spinners started hunting in pairs, and the team stopped panicking. Coach Amol Mazumdar's mantra seemed to be simple, or even the team's mantra seemed to be simple: 10 good balls and 10 wickets. And in the final, it all came together. Shafali Verma, just 21, and not even in the original squad, played like she'd never left, hitting a fearless 87 and taking 2 key wickets. Deepti Sharma, calm as ever, scored a 50 and then ripped through South Africa with a five wickets, basically. Amanjot Kaur's juggling catch to dismiss Laura Wolvaardt had everyone gasping, and Harmanpreet's flying grab to remove Nadine de Klerk, pure theatre. And let's not forget South Africa. Laura Wolvaardt, all of just 26, led them to their first ever World Cup final, men's or women's, and scored 100. They started slow, clawed their way back, and for a good part of that chase, it felt that they might just pull off the impossible. But India's bowlers and fielders didn't flinch. For once, it wasn't England or Australia, but two former colonies playing the World Cup final. India fresh from that stunning chase against Australia, and South Africa buoyed by their emphatic win over England. It felt like the map of world cricket had quietly redrawn itself under those floodlights. So what does this win mean for India's women on the field and beyond it? How did South Africa's incredible run, led by Wolvaardt's composure and grace, change how we see them as a team? And what might this night do for the future of women's cricket everywhere? The Hindus and the Sportstars Lavanya Lakshminarayanan was watching every catch, every cheer, every tear, and she's here to answer all our questions. Welcome, Lavanya.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lavanya, after all those early losses to South Africa and England, Coach Amol Mazumdar was said to have given the team a quiet but stern wake-up call, right? Since then, India looked sharper, calmer. It really felt like they were kind of reborn. What kind of transformation did he bring, not just technically, but also emotionally, that allowed this team to finally believe that they could win the World Cup?
So from what it looks like to the press, right? Amol is somebody who's built a sort of a I'm your big brother kind of relationship with this team, which is a departure from the kind of coaches they've had before, who are sterner. They're far more senior, they're a little older. Their hierarchy has been a different sort of way. It's been a different kind of professionalism also when those coaches were around. It's not a bad thing. It's just different people bring sort of a different vibe to the team, right? You always see Amol around the team. He's making jokes. He's keeping things light. It's always people can just openly come up and talk to him about anything, which is the kind of culture he's wanted to have in the team. I think what's changed with Amol is that he's put a lot more agency on the players to sort of figure out their own destinies within the side, whether it's what they do in training or what they come out and do on the field. That sort of shows in the leadership group particularly, because you see people like Harmanpreet, of course, she's the captain. She's going to be front and center of everything. But you also have these leaders in Smriti, Jemima, all of them being given those little mini roles within the team to be allowed to sort of have that impact on the youngsters, or to go and help out the captain herself, which is something you need coaches to sort of encourage, right, within the side. So that's what he's brought. He's brought a sort of a collective accountability kind of thing, where he's tried to make the team understand that, okay, all of this has happened. If you've played bad, you've played bad. Yes, you need to get a whack in the bottom for it. But the bigger picture is something else. So, I mean, cry about whatever has gone wrong, but you need to remember that we're heading towards something else, and that's what you need to be focusing on. I think that's the messaging we kept hearing from the team each time we kept asking them, Ki, this decision doesn't work, this combination doesn't work, this playing 11 doesn't work. Each time when we used to ask them things like that, they were like, yes, we know, we're working to certain plans, we're seeing what works, right? It's not been a perfect tenure for him ever since he's come in 2023, and his coaching career started here in Navi Mumbai and Mumbai. When Australia and England came on, he had a lot of time to experiment. At the time, the Indian ODI side looked very different. From there, we've had some 19 debutants, and so many bowlers have come into the setup, and that sort of clashed with the WPL and the talents that the WPL is giving up, right? But he's never been one who's shied away from saying, I'm experimenting. This is what I'm trying to do. Ahead of the T20 World Cup, he tried so many things. Richa was at some point batting at number 3. Jemima was pushed up and down. You had so many different bowlers coming in. We were still looking for the right combination even before the ODI World Cup. So he's been that one person who says, I'm open to trying anything, whatever works, we'll stick with that. And that's been refreshing, I suppose. It's been like a learning on the job, but it's been an India that's not afraid to come and say, fine, we've messed up, but we're learning and we're okay to sort of figure this out and move forward rather than stubbornly stick to something that isn't really working for us. I guess that.
And just to clarify, when you're talking about the WPL, you're talking about the Women's Premier League,
Yes,
right?
for Women's Premier League, yes, which is into
domestic T20 cricket league for
yes,
women, which began in 2023.
yep,
right?
the hugely lucrative body in global women's cricket. Let's put it that way.
Coming back to the match, because as we review the finals yesterday, one person we have to talk about is Shafali Verma. She's just 21. She wasn't even playing in the original squad a week ago. She was actually playing domestic cricket in Surat until Pratika's injury actually opened a door for her. Then she comes in and she scores 87 in the finals, takes 2 crucial wickets, including that of Marizanne Kapp, and becomes player of the match. What is her fearless comeback? Tell us about leadership that trusts instinct over hierarchy, and about giving, young women the freedom to play without fear.
Shafali, yeah, that's right. Shafali's always been a young woman who's played without fear. 21, she made her debut when she was, I think, 15. So she spent a big chunk of her teenage years with a lot of people having their eyes on her, right? She's grown up in that sort of a limelight where everyone's been given the liberty to dissect anything and everything she does. And she's a girl from Haryana, doesn't keep quiet when she comes for press conferences. Whether she understands your question or not, she'll give you a great quote. I think there was this one instance at some point last year or the year before that where she had scored a couple of runs and I think she had fallen just short of some record of Mithali Raj. And we pointed it out to her in the press conference and she's like, oh God, if you had told me, I would have maybe beaten the record and come here and given you guys something to talk about. So it's a very unfiltered presence, which is very, very refreshing in Indian cricket, right? But the problem with that also is that shows you how raw and young she really is, where she's able to speak her mind and everything. I think in this case, her coming back was definitely born of necessity. Pratika's injury was extremely unfortunate. The way she fell and, I mean, that injury and how she twisted her knee and ankle was there for everyone to see. She was on a wheelchair when she came for the medal ceremony and like she had a moon boot on and everything. So she's going to be out for a couple of months. But Shafali's done that quiet grind in the domestic circuit. When she was dropped, I personally feel she was dropped for good reason because she got a very long rope in ODIs, but her game wasn't changing. She wasn't able to shake off the inconsistency or she wasn't able to really get stuck in and play a longer innings, right? This 87, the fact that it's a sporadic 50 in her career does such a disservice to her talent. And I think that's what a lot of people were trying to drill down to her. She, to give her credit, took it in the right spirit and she's gone back and she's really worked on it. If you see her innings last night, that 80 odd runs that she made, she doesn't play like this. For a large part of her innings, she was playing down the ground. She was not trying to go over the bowler's head or go over the fielder to try and just maze ke liye hit sixes. None of that. It was very tempered innings. She knew what her responsibility was. Smriti fell early also, so she knew it was on her to sort of dictate the pace of the innings early on. And she's done that. It speaks more, honestly, it speaks more of her maturity and what she's been, like life has knocked her up so many times in the last couple of years with all of these criticisms about her form, about her maturity, whether she's made for the ODI game. She's really gone back, put her head down. She's lost a little bit of weight, gotten a little fitter, and she's come back and she's tried to make the opportunity count. I think now she knows the value of the opportunity. It's more that than anything else. And she's had a lot of senior people putting that into her head, saying you need to make things count. When you go, you need to finish a game. You can't just go there and two, three sixes and your job is done. Which is why I think people like Australia are scared of her, because that is her potential, whether she does it or not. This is what she's capable of, to come for those 10 overs. She can just change the face of the game and walk back. The funny thing is, she bowls. Her bowling is not, it's not new. We've seen her do it in the domestic circuit. We've seen her bowl in the nets. And if you go back and watch her action, it is hilarious. It's almost lazy. The way she bowls, it's like, oh, okay, I have to put the ball out of my hand. It feels like that. Just go back and watch the 2 wickets also. So all of us had a really nice time sort of looking at that. But that element of surprise, right? You're not expecting her to turn up. She came and she snapped up 2 wickets for you. And they're not small people. Sunil, Marizanne, Kapp, who on their day, you will be just watching that cup go far, far away from you if they had gotten going, right? And Marizanne Kapp happens to be her WPL teammate. They play together in Delhi Capitals as well. So all these guys know what she's capable of. And for years, they've been convincing us, saying, you guys don't know, Shafali is this little pocket dynamite. You never know. On her day, she'll just leave the entire place incinerated and you won't know what's happened. There was a lot of criticism for the Indian management saying, how could you leave her out of the squad? At the very least, you could have kept her in the reserves. It will help to have someone like that, especially when throughout the tournament we saw issues with strike rate. We all discussed this in the previous podcast, I remember, where dot balls were discussed and how slowly the Indian team was scoring. That was discussed. All of this, it's very easy. Grass is greener on the other side. When you're playing like this, everyone knows, okay, when Shafali Verma is sitting on the bench somewhere, you all should have got them. It's very easy to say, but the choice was made for a particular reason, and that choice worked for a large portion of the year. And she came in, she knew she had 2 matches. I'm sure she also manifested it. Imagine, it's such a make or break for her as a character, right? There are 50,000 people telling you, oh, you're just a kid, you might not be able to do it. हाँ हाँ 2-3-6 WPL में मार लेगी, यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं कर पाएगी. And she's Haryanvi. It's in her blood to, catch a redemption opportunity and make the best of it. We've seen so many women from that state do this. Vinesh Fogart, so many of the wrestlers, all of them are from there. It's in their blood to come and, when you have a point to prove, to really bring out the best version of yourself. So that's what she did. It was remarkable to watch. What was better than her was her carrying the captain. How I think it was such a call of faith, right? It was purely Harman's call to give her the ball. And she just leapt into Shafali's arms and they were like running around. I think the celebration more than anything dented South Africa, for sure.
In fact, the whole transformation of the team for me personally also to watch was quite something, because when I first had a conversation just ahead of, the England match, I was just like, okay, I better do this interview because I don't know if we're going to get a chance to do something, during the finals or after the finals. So I was kind of a little unsure about the team's performance and assuming that again we're probably going to have Australia, England in the finals again. But how wrong was I? Now, as we talk about the teammates, we also have to talk about Deepti Sharma, right? She is quite steely and she scored 50 runs. She managed to snag 5 wickets. It's apparently the first time anyone has done that in Women's World Cup. How do you see her journey from being an all-rounder to kind of becoming kind of like the core and the absolute kind of important reason for India's victory?
I think, to be very honest, Deepti's seen so many summers in Indian cricket. She's been around forever. She's been around when she was opening in the team at some point and she was coming up in the top order. Then she sort of dropped down. She's seen this pinch hitter role. Now she's somewhere in the middle order. She's been a very malleable part of the Indian team where they just call her, okay, we're in trouble, come save us. And they expect her to go there and just do her thing. It's very easy to dismiss her as, quiet and, okay, she's doing whatever. There's been a lot of criticism about her fitness, about her weight, about things like how she used to score and all of that. But I don't think people realize what an intelligent cricketer Deepti is. She's one of the very few, not just in Indian cricket, I think you can say this in world cricket also, who's capable of going there and making plans of her own and changing what she needs to do without anyone telling her what she needs to do. So she's a very rare breed of cricketer. It's just that maybe the packaging that we get from her or how she presents herself might not come out that way. Deepti, I think, in the last couple of years has worked on her batting. She's worked bowling to you don't need to teach her what to do. I don't think anybody's tinkering there. But there was a huge criticism with her about how slowly she scores and the fact that she's not really able to find the boundary. She's worked on it. I mean, she's one of the benefactors of the WPL. She's worked with some really good coaches in UP Warriors. They dedicatedly worked with her on her range hitting. She went back and took it with her coach back in UP also, the person she's working with back home. She sort of worked on her power game and just finding the boundary with a lot more ease, accessing different parts of the ground. So she's done all of that. At some point, she also realizes she's seen all of these things. She's within a team now where it's not just her pulling weight in the lower order, right? You have these younger kids also who maybe just need her experience to keep things going. I think one thing that really stood out for me is from the semi final. Jemima, when she came and spoke to the press and she was like bawling her eyes out and talking about how her team is supporting her. In the press box, we were sitting and saying, Deepti, what are you doing? You need to run faster. Or you need to like, because you know how Jemima runs, right? She's like a bullet. She'll just like run up and down like this. And Deepti isn't that fast. It's okay. You can't expect everyone to sort of be 9-second, 100-meter sprinters. But it was really valuable to see Jemima come out and say, Deepti was coming here and constantly, pepping me up. She's talking to me, saying things are okay. She does this very often. She does this even with the UP Warriors. We've watched her play domestic cricket where she captains the teams here. She's that calming presence there also. There's very little she hasn't seen in cricket. And the thing is, these girls have seen so much of loss that after a while, I think, what's the worst thing that can happen? You lose your opportunity, right? From there, everything is just anything else is just progress. So I think she's one of those old hardened cricketers who've seen just how bad it can be if it doesn't work out, that she just gave it her all and she made it work. This game, in fact, I think came down to the effectiveness of the all-rounders. If Marizanne had had a game like that, which is what happened in the semi-final, she had a near 50 and a fifer. It just completely takes the team to another level, right? Deepti is somebody who can do that in her sleep. The emotions will not come to her so much. Marizanne's a very emotional cricketer. Deepti, not so much. Not so much on the field. She'll get the job done, figure it out, try and like precision her way through everything and go. And India will be thanking its stars that she was around yesterday for what she did. She's been Harman's strike bowler. Harman calls her when she needs a wicket. When things are desperate, she's the one they'll turn to because they don't have to yell instructions at her. She's made her plans. She's probably obsessed over all of these batters that she's facing. And good that she has a winner's medal now to go with it. This is the ultimate validation of what a genius she is.
We have to obviously talk about South Africa. It's something we were chatting about before we started this conversation, and you were telling me a little bit about how incredible this team is, and also how sad you're probably going to be that many of these amazing South African cricketers are going to retire. Now, we have to also obviously talk about Laura Wolvaardt. She's just 26. I mean, I know in women's cricket, even like you're saying, Deepti Sharma, 27 years old, seems like a veteran, but these are really incredible young people. Wolvaardt scored a century, even though her team lost. This was South Africa's first ever World Cup final, men's or women's, a team that wasn't expected to be here. How do you read into Wolvaardt's captaincy, and South Africa itself? And tell us a little bit more about what you make of this team. I can see you smiling as I am.
Honestly,
talking.
I know we're journalists, but I love the South African team. There's so much about they are very happy to acknowledge how imperfect they are. Maybe in their own cricketing trajectories or in their lives, or how they carry their societies on their sleeves when they come to play. And we love it. There are a lot of women in the press box who look at this intersection between your life as a cricketer and what happens in your own life outside it, right? And how that sort of comes together when you come out to play. Funnily, I don't know why, I don't want to generalize this, but that's something more women look at than men for whatever reason. And that's something we've seen throughout this World Cup. And each time we speak to South Africa, we always keep asking them about what does this mean for your community back home. For a lot of them, it's also they've come from different diverse backgrounds where sometimes cricket's not been an option. For people like Malaba and for maybe Masabata class. And there's also the race issue there, right? Like you also deal with opportunities that come depending on the color of your skin, depending on how society sort of looks at you. This is a unit that's very happy to talk about these things, that's happy to come and say, we are an imperfect country, but we want to do things so that it makes a difference back home. You spoke about Laura Wolvaardt. She is a medical student, right? She's been training to be a doctor. She's training to be a surgeon. Yeah, which I'm assuming, I've been told, at least we were talking to so many Cricket South Africa people, we're being told that that is not going to be something she's going to let go at some point. She's going to keep that sort of side thing going as well. you can see that precision that she brings to cricket also. She's not very emotional. South Africa's, this is their first ODI World Cup final, men or women, but they've made the T20 World Cup final 2 times in a row. So this is their third successive final in 3 years. 2023, they made the final in the T20 World Cup at home in South Africa, which sort of galvanized something for them within the community there as well. Then they made the final in the UAE last year and lost to New Zealand. It was a game they had no business losing, and they just crumbled. It just crumbled. It was big match pressure. It's not even like you say, it was not like DY Patil. There was like 20,000 odd people there in Dubai. Yeah. So, and it was barely as intense or, petrifying. They lost that as well. Here, they really wanted it, but by the end of the match, they're all made peace with the fact that India wanted it more. So they're a very emotional bunch of people led by these kind of statistics driven nuts. Wolvaardt is mad. Last year, when they lost the T20 World Cup, everybody was crying on one side. Okay, it's a very jarring image that has always stayed with me. Everyone was crying. I think Marizanne would have dealt with the water crisis of the desert with the amount of tears she shed that night. And she cries for everything. For everything. It's not a bad thing. She weep.
I actually saw her cry during the playing
Yes,
of the South
yes.
African national
Every
anthem.
time. She always cries. She's very emotional. That anthem does something to them. She holds the crest. She likes Sophie Devine. Both of them were just weeping their way through. And she also knows this could, in all likelihood, be her last ODI World Cup. Another 4 years later, they'll all be touching their 40s. How easy that's going to be for them to sustain, that only time can tell. But yeah, you have all of these characters, right? And then there is Laura, who's just standing there. Everyone's having an emotional reaction. And she's standing with the coach then, and she was like, I should have said this field. I should have said that bowler there. I should have done this. I should have done that. She was doing that for a good 30 minutes after the game was lost. So when the coach came to speak to us, I was a little worried. I'm like, why is she not having a reaction? And I asked the coach, did that dam break at any point? Did it dawn on her that it's disappointing, or does she know that they've lost the match? Is she still stuck there? Is the adrenaline still sort of coursing through for her, right? At the time, the coach told me, Laura's too technical. I'm probably going to stay awake for about 7 days figuring this out before it dawns on her that there's nothing she can do about it, which is very Meg Lanning-esque, who's sort of led Australia. She's the one who she along with Matthew Mott and Rachel Haynes in Australia, spurred that whole era of dominance that came after that 2017 loss to India in the World Cup. Laura Wolvaardt has those qualities, both as a batter and as a captain. She's that intense. She is that obsessed about figuring out what went wrong and finding a technique to win. And the fact that South Africa, a team that emotional, a team that diverse, a team that willing to do something for the community, has a leader like that, can only mean good things. The only issue being, maybe when they come in for a World Cup next year, a lot of these characters might not be around. So much like
This is the T20
the
World Cup.
T20 World Cup, I'm sure Marizanne will stick around for the T20 World Cup, but that's just 6 months off, right? So I don't think too much will change towards that World Cup. But from there, you're going to have some really hard conversations about blooding other people in. So to figure out this kind of, Marizanne, Kapp and all are generational cricketers. You don't produce them every other day. To be fair, she's had the worst couple of years in her personal life for the last, say, 3-4 years. To see her channel all that rage onto the cricket field is, you don't get, cricketers like that aren't made every day. You cut her hand, you'll probably find steel for all her tears, right? We love speaking about how much she cries, but you can't find more clutch cricketers like Marizanne Kapp anywhere. She'll fit into any team participating in the World Cup. So these are the kind of characters you have in South Africa. But because you asked me about what is it about this team that ticks, their coach also is a very interesting man. He's come in.
Yeah, I saw him being so genuine and warm to Harman
Yes.
after the.
Yes, he's been coming in. He's been a long-term domestic coach. He and Amol are very similar. He's been a domestic coach for I think about 13 years. You're really coming in from that background, right? Where it's not really the senior team that you've played with. You have not played in the senior setup and you've just come in and you're taking care of a women's team. It's very similar. What I really like about Manla is he's very philosophical. So I was tailing them in Guwahati and I was watching their training session. The coach was standing, maybe it's as close as the laptop is to me right now. And I'm trying to listen, thinking, I will hear some technique now. The South African coach is going to tell me what they need to do, play on the front foot, play like this, play like that. No, man is giving them life advice, saying, you need to add value to everything you do. He was talking about some childhood story of his. And apparently this is just how his training sessions go. He addresses.
Yeah, and just to clarify, you're talking about the South African coach, Mandla.
Yes, Manla Mashimbi.
Yeah.
And he has these really quirky stories about what value you can add as a human being, stuff from his own childhood, stuff from South African legend. He loves bringing all of these things and keeping the players calm, which is so great for somebody so obsessed like Laura Wolvaardt, right? It's such a stark departure. It's like day and night in terms of how they approach a game. She's the technical side.
Quantitative and qualitative.
Yep. Yin and yang, right? So he's like the human side, she's like the analytical side, the emotional and the analytical. It's so good to see that they're willing to put a punt on the team and figure out things, saying it's okay, India wanted it more now, but we go back with lessons, we know what we need to do, and we'll sort of figure it out and recalibrate and come back. That is what I really like about the South African team. They didn't quit yesterday. It went till the very end, even though it got a little impossible. They didn't quit. That sort of sums them up in a nutshell.
We have to, I mean, this is my last question, and we cannot end this conversation without talking about what changes we really want in women's cricket. I mean, high time with some of these changes, right? It feels like a turning point, this victory for India, but you really can't just stop at an applause, right? We really need to make sure that this ecosystem itself changes, right? That we have better contracts, we have fair maternity policies, a path back for mothers, women cricketers who become mothers, a culture that treats them as professionals and not just as exceptions, right? Do you think this victory gives players the leverage to demand that change, not just more money, but just a transformation of attitude and respect?
Yep, they have the leverage now. I still remember, this is not cricket related, but I remember speaking to Deepika Pallikal Karthik once when she had just had her kids.
Squash
Player. Yeah, she had just had her kids at the time and she had spent some time off from the game, and she came back and won a doubles world championship gold. And when she was sort of dissecting it, she said, women always have to win to then tell people why they deserve to be supported. You can look at it whichever way you want, or you're making everything so feminist. It is what it is. So these players have had to do that on a consistent basis. Even the Indian team will tell you, unless we win or unless we have something to show, we're not going to be able to demand for anything better. So there was a time when this equal pay conversation was going around, not the way it is now, right? Where the trolls are coming and saying, you're getting paid the same. Why can't you come? First of all, India's not getting paid the same. They're getting paid the same match fees. That is it. They get paid the same for playing a game of cricket, but they don't get
Annual
the same
contracts.
contracts. It's a stark difference. It's some 7 crores and 1 crore. It's that kind of a difference, if not more. So it's not the same. It's very easy to pull up saying, okay, there was an administration that came and did all of this. Yes, it made a huge difference in terms of coming in, the WPL coming in. The WPL coming in fact, I would say, is what has driven a lot of these things. So at this point, we're not looking at a revolution that might be needed in Indian cricket. If anything, this is your stamp of approval that yes, India has rightfully earned its place as the leader in the women's game. Australia and England will now sit a level lower. They already have, given the amount of money that's there in the WPL, that is more than there is in the WBBL in Australia or the 100 in England. So India has that monetary might, right, which we always knew. Now you have that stamp of a world title with it. It's not just speaking and dominating the game with money for no reason. You've backed it up with a title. Like you said, what should follow now is professionalism with how things work in the back end. You need to have those policies. You need to think about maternity even before you have a player coming to you saying, I might be pregnant. What can I do now? What are my solutions? You need to be prepared for things like that. That kind of professionalism is something that doesn't exist anywhere in Indian cricket. To be fair, Pakistan has a paternity policy. We've not even discussed it. When
Yeah, I was surprised to learn about that. Yeah.
When Virat comes in and says, I might be skipping away for my child's birth, everybody goes back to, oh, but you played Ranji when your father passed away. Why do you need to run back to your wife? People can take care of it. It's insane, the kind of stuff that gets thrown up at people. This is just cricket. It's not some battlefield. It's not a war. It's very easy to conflate all of these things, but you need to have more professional things going on at the back. I'll tell you one example, and this is a story everyone knows, so I can cite it. There is this Andhra cricketer called Sneha Deepti, okay? She's had a kid, she's gotten married, she's done everything, and she's struggling to find her way back. In the domestic setup, there were cases where she was fighting to tell people that, it's fine, I've had my baby. I want to now try and come back. It's not like I'm not contributing. She's playing the domestic season right now. She's playing it as we speak. She was playing the senior women's T20 trophy, which Shafali was a part of.
She was also part of RCB. Right?
Yeah. She was with one of the teams as well. Yeah, she was with Delhi Capitals, if I'm not wrong. She was with that setup. So you have players like this who are aching for an opportunity to come back. Why should being a mother or being a wife or wanting to have a personal life deny you an opportunity to be a cricketer? It just goes beyond anything I say, which is why when we have World Cups, you look at the other teams, right? Of course, the LGBTQ conversation is a whole other thing where you have other teams that are open to, same-sex relationships or just having conversations about things like that. Here, Indian women can't talk about relationship. Look at your Mithali Raj, your Julan Goswami, all of these players, right? We've never heard of them having a life outside the game at any point. And they will tell you this. Mithali's been very open about this, where she said, I never had time to focus on anything happening here because my cricket needed my all. Otherwise, no one will take me seriously. It's very easy for you to say, okay, yes, she'll skip off and get married, right? It's those things. That is what I like when we were sitting and watching them celebrate and things like that. It's so great that we are at a state where we're not saying, oh, okay, the women have won, now money will come into the setup. There is money in the setup. There's a professional, yeah, they have injury support. They've got all of that. If anything, keep steady mental health support for them. Now you know that there are going to be, everyone's going to be looking at this team now. If anything, the scrutiny is only going to get worse. You won it once, now you'll be expected to win it every time. So give them that mental health support they need. All of them have gone through a lot of stuff before they get here. They've all been subject to some heavy trolling and of different kinds. Jemima herself, yeah, it's not just non-performance. There's also the angle of her religion that was brought up for a very long period of time. He bears her heart on her sleeve. There is an argument that when other people do it, why is it not an issue? Why is it only an issue when she does it, right? There's so many conversations you can have there. You have a lot of people coming out and talking about anxiety, which was so great. It was so refreshing to see a cricketer like that, who everyone only associates with reels, dancing, being chirpy, to come there and cry through 40 minutes of post-match presentation.
And this is Jemima.
This is Jemima after the semi-final.
Right? After her semi-final.
Yeah,
session.
and she was dropped. She was dropped mid-tournament. Mid-tournament, they said, oh, you might not be who we want, which is a call I will never agree with. But that's for the Indian team to decide what they felt about that. But to have somebody come and for 40 minutes tell you that my mental health was all over the place, I was crying to my parents. You go back to that Indian team, everybody has this story. Harmanpreet has this story. The reason she was bawling the way she was bawling after that Australia game is because people have crucified her to that 171 for years on end. Years on end. She's had that one performance. They've expected that to come up every time. So you have all of these things. These are the things I'd want to see. Better mental health support, better these kind of contractual stuff, like have space for people to be mothers, have space for people to be partners, accommodate that for them to have that life outside and not sort of give up their cricket if they're playing good, right? It's not just for the sake of it. If you're worth your weight in gold in the team, you shouldn't have to lose a personal life just to stick around. Things like that.
Absolutely. And just to clarify the 171, because I'm sure cricket buffs must be wanting to get some context, or want newer cricket buffs who are coming into this figure. This is about Harmanpreet's 171 not out,
yes,
right?
Against Australia in Derby in the 2017 World Cup.
2017 semi-finals World Cup.
Yes.
Now, I know I said it's the last question, Lavanya, but I can't let you go without asking you, since we spoke so extensively about the South African team, and since we spoke about trolling religion and things like that in relation to the Indian team, I just found like there's so much sisterhood that's there within the team, right? I know Jemima spoke a lot about it. The hug between Harmanpreet and Smriti, and I'm actually getting goosebumps as I talk about this. It also said a lot, right, about their own struggle over so many years and the kind of onslaught that they faced, right? So can you talk, to conclude, can you just say what are we seeing now? Of course, in men's cricket also we're talking about a new dawn. In women's cricket, it's definitely a new dawn. How is this team, and how important is it to look at this team from, I don't know, socio-political, sports perspective? I mean, there's so much to learn.
There's so much to learn, yeah. There really is so much to learn. Look at the diverse backgrounds in this Indian side, right? We were talking about South Africa, like you said. But the Indian side is no different. In this team, you've had 10 youngsters. You've had others who have sort of seen and been through the worst that Indian cricket can offer in terms of selections, not being selected.
Some of them coming from really humble
backgrounds.
Like
Exactly. Kranti, Charani, these are all such incredible stories. I think what has changed in Indian cricket now, earlier you would have to earn your stripes and stick around for 4-5 years and say, see, I'm doing my grind in the domestic circuit. Okay, now I think I've earned my way to go. You know how bureaucracy works, right? Like just because something is done a certain way for 10-15 years, every subsequent generation is expected to do the same thing. It's a very office setup, like where, hamare seniors aise kiye, we also have to do it the same way. That shackle is broken, well and truly broken, and thank God for that. You don't have those old systems of this is how things work. We went through this, so you also have to go through the same thing. It's a very professional setup. Stuff like a WPL, stuff like increased domestic games. You have other setups sort of taking space. Railways was such a huge entity in Indian women's cricket for the longest time. They were the sole employer at one stage, right? And that also led to things like, okay, you play for Railways, you fast track yourself into the team. And then it became a monopoly there of all these players only being from the Railways. Not anymore. Railways has lost the last couple of titles in the domestic circuit also, because you have other teams now getting these incredible talents that are fit, that are able to change their game. It's permeated. That sort of that impact has permeated to different levels. You look at all of that, and then you look at a team where it is right now, where you have different backgrounds, people who speak different languages. You have representation from the south, from the east, from the north, from the west. There's just one Bombay cricketer, somebody, because this final is happening in Bombay. You know how Bombay reporters are, right? Hame Bombay ke players chahiye. This is such a cradle of Indian cricket. And they were like, look at how things have come. There's just what, one or max two players from this side of the world. Everybody else is from everywhere else. But
Like Radha is
Radha's from here. Radha's from here. Jemima's from here. That's it. Yeah, technically Smriti's from Maharashtra. So she goes to another domestic team. So it's incredible how even those things sort of have changed over the last couple of years, right? You have representation from different places. Arundhati is in from Andhra. She's also seen so much. She didn't get steady playing time, but she's seen so much in her cricketing career. She's somebody who left the Railways, and that's not something a lot of people would do. It's a lucrative job. It's a job that sets you up for life. She left Railways because she wasn't getting opportunities, because she had the WPL contract. She could afford it. That's the same story for so many other people. There are people who are like, okay, I understand this is a cricket mad country. Not everybody's going to get to the senior team, but I have another avenue to make cricket my life and still be a popular cricketer, or still earn my living out of that, right? Those things have changed. Those things have really changed for India. And if anything, this is only going to just build on some good work that's already been done. And it feels so good to say that we're not hinging on a World Cup to come and, completely give this Indian cricket ecosystem one makeover. That's not required. The makeover is already done. This team has already toiled and gotten it to that level. All you need to do is maintain. Now, maintenance is the hardest part. It's like how when you check like a new exercise regimen, no, on New Year's, first 7 days, everything is fantastic, where you're going for running every day, you're eating healthy, and then the eighth day you're like, "Nahi burger." Once one cheat day we'll do, or one little bit of slacking you do, and then it goes back to how things were. Indian cricket needs to figure out that, to just maintain the gains that they've got and keep it going now. Now that they're world champions, you keep it going because there's a responsibility. Other nations will look at you and learn. And it's a massive opportunity for us to sort of just set the tone for another era of dominance in world cricket. Enough of Australia and England. Now you set the tone for how things work. You have a star now on your jersey to back that up also.
No, that's amazing. And Lavanya, I can't tell you how excited I was to have you cover it as a woman, for the Hindu and Sportstar. So exciting. And it was so nice chatting with you and learning about all these little stories about the various teams. It always excites me to know the people behind the sport, because that's what makes them. So I think that's something that you shared with us so nicely. And thank you, and hope we have many more
Yes,
conversations.
thank you so much for having me. And it's time to celebrate the World Cup win now.